maybe
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, I will record this session because we have already 56 members in our Discord server, and there's people who are definitely going to or are looking forward to seeing your session in YouTube after
Ah,
this.
awesome.
You're welcome. Your topic, or you did your research on cloud-based integration platforms, is that
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah,
really traditional software engineering topic about the challenges and opportunities in cloud-based integration platforms.
excellent. I know there's a lot of coders or future coders in the classroom as well, so they are very interested in this topic as well.
Yes,
Okay.
I can give a totally different lecture about integrations and my passion for integrations and why they are so under like valued in my opinion. But that's a
Yeah.
totally different topic.
We have to invite you for another session another time then. Okay, well,
Yeah.
welcome, Sonia, and go ahead and you can start. If you have any questions online or here, just maybe write it in the chat. Uh, or if you are here, you can just ask at any time. But we are recording this until some point. At some point, I will turn it off so you can ask your questions freely as well. But you are welcome to write your questions already in chat so you won't forget your excellent questions. Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, yeah. But I
Awesome.
really do hope that there will be questions because this is more like this kind of like talkative talk, and there's kind of a lot of like things which are always like going on around this topic, and you can also point that hey, I have just heard that blah 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 blah. Blah. That's always I think nice in this kind of like lecture. But yeah, so basically my theme today is debunking the myths about gender and tech, and I already do know that you have been maybe going a little bit around this topic already previously, but let's see, I really do hope that I can maybe get some new insights, maybe some new points on this topic. But basically, this is usually my like basic lecture about these kind of different kind of myths around gender and tech. So I'm focusing on gender quite a lot, but to be honest, quite of my topics are like overall about the diversity, equity, and inclusion in technology sector right now. So don't be confused so much about that. And that's why I have also now changed my first slide to be about this backlash of day. And then also I'm going to this my one of my favorite topics about this gender equality paradox in STEM, which is one this kind of really strong myth in technology field about gender. And then this main thing, which always a little bit even frustrates me, that some people are saying that they are like investigating why women are interested about tech. Women are interested in tech. I can already now tell that for you. And then also one of my topics is about reskilling and career change to the tech. So what to like go through in there and what about the myths around there. And also that there's also like this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion discussion. And some points people are just saying that we are focusing too much on gender. Well, we are not focusing too much on gender. We have to focus on all the aspects of diversity, equity, and inclusion in order to make it more better and this world better in many ways. But yeah, thank you, Mira, for introduction. So as said, I'm Sonja Hyrynsalmi. I'm from Department of Software Engineering from Lund University. So you may know that in Lund Concern there is this lab, University of Applied Science, and then there is Lund University for Academic University. So we are kind of like colleagues with Mira. You can meet us both from Software Corner in the second floor of Lund Lahti campus. Right now, I'm postdoctoral researcher in our department, and I defended my PhD in September 2024 about cloud-based integration platforms. And that's like one topic I also like talk a lot. And I see kind of like something similar to these like gender issues and integration issues. So they are both like taken a little bit granted, and they are just like, well, they are now, and we cannot do anything about it. I think we can do a lot on these things, but at first of all, we have to always understand what is the challenges in them and what are the opportunities, of course, in both of them. And nowadays, I also teach our bachelor level students here in Lahti campus, and I really like teaching. I think our students are amazing. And as said, my focus in human capital in software engineering. So that's basically about the skills, the professionals, and also this like diversity and equity and inclusion in software engineering, and also about the sustainability and ethics in software engineering. So I do have a wide, broad of aspect of publication around these topics, and these are like my main focus also in my postdoctoral research phase right now. And about this, for example, this IT labor shortage paradox in Finland, that is, for example, that I'm claiming that in Finland we don't have IT shortage at all, because we do have enough of skilled junior developers. We do have people with international background, and yet still they don't get a position in our IT industry. So it's not a shortage if you're not like really looking for all the skills. So I claim that software companies are kind of like looking senior level Finnish speaking software developers only, and that's the main issue here right now. And that would be fixed by taking more junior and international talents to the companies, and in that way ensure that we have all the skills needed to success in our industry here in Finland. So as said, I have been publishing quite a lot around this human capital topic, and these are my recent publications around this. And I just also get accepted about sense of belonging in software agile development in hybrid work, one publication. So you can see that my publication runs is quite large and wide, but it's always like focused on this human capital aspect. And these are I'm really happy and proud about these papers, because this is also one topic which is not so easy to publish. And these are all U43 level publication venues where I've managed to publish about my topics. And gender is basically one of my main focus. It has been always like interesting me what are the main reasons why there are so many challenges to get women to come to the industry and stay in the industry. And I'm not looking for women to and men to be 50-50 in the industry, but I would say that we are there when women can just like apply to the software engineering because they didn't know what else to do, for example, so that they don't face all the time like these questions. So why you're a girl, why did you apply to study computer science or software engineering? And also I'm a little bit like worried that we are once again like building this kind of narrative that women are like translators between developers and customers, and women want to save software engineering with green ICT. That's like that's not what I'm kind of like looking for. I'm looking that everyone can come to this industry as they just feel that they would like to do something. They don't have to know exactly what they can do here. They can always find their own path. So the topic today is gender myths in tech and in software engineering. And why I do want to tackle these myths, it is because they usually are that kind of things that you don't like say them aloud so widely, but they are there and they are kind of like reinforcing these stereotypes. And they can also prevent the progress in our field to make this field more diverse and more inclusive. And I think it's really important to identify and maybe a little bit challenge these kind of myths that really say aloud that what people maybe think really about these things and what would be like challenge here. And I think also that do have some examples later on that of course like this kind of statistical numbers about gender and other issues in diversity in our field are important, but I think it's also really important to collect this kind of like knowledge and evidence-based qualitative data from these issues and go really deeper on what really are the main challenges in this area. And there are some main challenges which have been remaining all the time. And then all the time, there's also new challenges coming on, and we have to be more and more aware of them. And I'm sorry, I have been sick for a couple of weeks, so my voice is a little bit still away, but I hope you can hear me well. But yeah, I'm talking a lot about gender, but then at the same time also like touching the more bigger diversity, equity, and inclusion topics, mainly because right now there is quite a lot of things, especially in politics, going on around these topics, and I'm personally, I'm as a researcher, I'm really concerned about those. So basically, the first myth which I have decided today to go through is about the diversity, equity, and inclusion climate overall. So what's happening right now? So we do know that Trump administration started this year, and they started quite heavily going on like themes around diversity, equity, and inclusion. But it's not like that it would, people are like claiming that, well, it's USA and that doesn't like necessarily like concern us. It is concerning us all because it's like part of this more wider movement in attitudes and what we like think that it's like a common message in this area. And we already do know there is, for example, this resume.org's research. They interviewed 1,000 companies that what they are right now doing with their DA commitments, that they are reducing them. Mostly half of them said that because of political climate change. And we already do know that, for example, Helsinki University has got these claims from USA that for some of the grants which they are taking, they cannot be like around these diversity, equity, and inclusion topics. And there's like huge amount of words which has been listed around this Trump administration, and they are about the diversity, women, gender, and lots of like these inclusion topics, ableism and stuff like that. So it's a really wide topic. We are now like seeing that, for example, researchers are not touching because they are fearing to lose their job and their grants, and also companies are kind of like trying to remove from their webpage. And this is one of our studies which we made with my co-authors. So we went through 10 of the biggest tech companies in Fortune 100 list, and we went through that what kind of statements, decisions, and wordings they have been now doing. And to be honest, the situation may not be as bad as we think. there are these really big players such as Amazon and Google and Meta, which has been like directly saying that they are about abounding these diversity and equity and inclusion topics. But what that really means, so we went through that, yes, some of the wordings has been changed, for example, in Oracle, but still we don't know exactly what it right now means in the actions. So that is something to follow right now. What are the real actions? Because it seems to be that quite many of companies are keeping the actions, but maybe renaming, for example, them. And like, for example, well, for example, Oracle has been starting to use the human capital wording and not diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that makes me, as a researcher, to think about that. Is my my postdoctoral team somehow like that kind of like renaming of diversity, equity, and inclusion? Let's see how human capital wording also moves in this direction. But then there is, of course, like these kind of things that we are also like right now having living this kind of like not depression in the economics, but still some kind of like slowment in economics. So at the same time as companies are like not so strongly supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion, they are maybe also not so strongly supporting in like sponsoring this kind of actions. And that makes me personally really concerned because I have seen what kind of impact these kind of like communities can do. And these are only like examples of gender-based communities, but then there is like lots of different kind of others communities for different kind of underrepresented groups in software engineering. So that is something I'm following quite a lot now, right now. So what's happening here and how this impact on this like kind of like fourth sector, these associations and different kind of like activism in this area. So that's like one thing I'm following quite a lot. Well, then we are going to this my favorite topic, and this is not so new thing, but this was like really huge when it came out. It's about this gender equality paradox in STEM, and it was like kind of like this kind of one paper which were like this is the like main paper in this topic. This is not the only paper which claim that there is this kind of like thing going on, but this is the main paper in this topic. And this is about like this that Finland is like this kind of country which is really good in gender equality. Sorry, do you have my daughter here? Nyt sun täytyy mennä kulta ylös. And she has, yes, sorry, I'm really sorry about this. But the thing is that they are claiming there that, for example, Finland and Sweden are so well performing in gender equality, but still there is less, for example, women in tech industry. That it's kind of like claimed that, well, in Finland, because there is this gender equality, women can choose naturally what is like biologically for them, and tech is not for them. So it's kind of like that kind of like thing. Well, it was like debunked in several times with several academic papers, but still this myth has been really strong. I think this kind of like is really something that some people really believe, although nothing is supporting this kind of like findings. This Stott and Gary's study has been one of the like really awesome explanation about how to understand the correlations and causation really wrong, and how you can present them in that kind of way that you really make people believing in your cause, but then it's not really true when you look the numbers right. And I think this is like huge problem also when we are publishing about these kind of issues, that sometimes reviewers are not like professionals in the methods we are using or with the topic we are like touching, that maybe they don't see that, well, this claim, it really doesn't make sense. And Stott and Gary has been responding to this after several academic other publications have proven them wrong. They have been stating that they will find a way to prove this. And that's also bad science, that you already decide that yes, women don't belong tech because they're biology, and then you just like try to find a way to prove that. That's not like that you will find from data that information. That's that you are like desperately looking some kind of explanation for that. And I think that's bad science. And there are a couple of like these kind of other links and place to find more information. And I think, for example, this gender ski lab in Harvard University has been the most active in debunking these kind of like harmful research about gender and tech and other issues. But I really think that these are really harmful and they don't help the diversity, equity, and inclusion in our industry at all. And the thing is that there are quite a lot of people who say that, well, don't force women to tech. Why do force women to study tech if they don't want? And the thing is that women are interested about tech. And there has been a lot of women in tech previously. But there are several reasons why women had not continued in tech industry. There are harassment, there are lack of these kind of possibilities to progress in your career. There are different kind of like climate attitudes in the companies, these kind of stereotypes that women cannot, for example, do technical jobs. Women have been facing quite a lot of challenges in this industry. And in recent years, in Finland, we have opened a lot of like university level tech positions in different universities. For example, in our Lahti campus, LUT has opened huge amount of new study places for tech in Jyväskylä and in Turku. And that has also like increased the number of places. So that has also increased the number of women. But when we are looking like this kind of like balance between women and men, that has not been raising so much, but there has been a slow movement. And when you're looking the numbers, for example, in this kind of figures, and unfortunately this tech picture, which is like numbers from vipunen.fi, there, unfortunately that is in Finnish, but it's about what is the percentage of between women and men in tech and ICT. And for example, in this you have to understand that tech includes, for example, architects. And architects is that kind of field where there is a huge amount of women applying. But then, for example, in mechanical engineering and in software engineering, the number of women has not been growing as fast as in this picture. And they are not as high as in this picture. And the thing is that women are interested about tech, but there are so many like this kind of quality data collected about the experience of girls and women in their early age, that how they are like taught about tech, how they are supported to decide tech. And for example, the study consulants in Finnish schools have been the main people who have been maybe encouraging women to tech, or then encouraging women to choose maybe more women dominated areas, such as like this kind of healthcare. But still we can see that there is this kind of like second round movement, especially right now, that the women in adult age women, they are applying to these tech positions in schools and also in companies. And they are this kind of like career changers, that they have not taken this kind of like linear educational path to the ICT industry, but they have maybe graduated from some other field. And then after that, they have been like being touch with IT or ICT in their work, or they have been noticing this kind of like potential in them that, hey, this is something I have been always interested about. And they have maybe noticed that there is better work-life balance in tech industry than, for example, in their own field right now. And they have been like encouraged that, hey, now I want to progress my career to tech level. And I think that has been like really nice. For example, in LUT software engineering, we do have really high portion of women in our master's studies, because, for example, LUT has made in that way that you can apply with any bachelor or University of Applied Science degree. It can be like from social sciences, it can be from health sector, economics, whatever. And then you can do like this 24 study points from tech field. And quite usually people have done them, for example, in FITech courses or in open university courses. And then you can apply for our master programs. And we have noticed that that's a really good path to get more women to tech, so that we are not forcing them to have, for example, study this more advanced mathematics in high school, and then only then they can apply to our programs. So in the end, it's all about like what kind of different kind of paths we will give to career changers in industry, because women are interested about tech, but they are not maybe support or guide in their early career points to apply to tech study programs. So they need a little bit different kind of help when they're making this kind of like career change in adult life. And I think this has been like really interesting for myself to research these kind of like career changes, because they are highly motivated. They do have like these kind of skills already from some other fields. They're highly motivated. They know why they're interested about tech. And it's usually really inspiring to see people to make career change. But at the same time, career change is it's really demanding. It takes time. You're maybe in middle of your this kind of like, you have your family, you have maybe loan for your house and stuff like that. So it's really demanding and really stressful time. And usually women don't want to engage themselves for too long programs, for example, 5-year university level of program. So that's why they also need different kind of paths. And it's not only about women, also men tell that they have been maybe thinking that they are not like super nerd enough to apply to IT sector, and then they have chosen, for example, economics instead of. But majority of career changes are right now women, and I think that's really inspiring, and that tells a lot about that women are interested about tech, and that we really have to do something to support women already in their early careers. But then about this career change, so there is now a lot of like things that, yes, the number of women have been growing in tech sector, and we are there now. But the thing is that what we really want when we need diversity. why diversity is like important. So we already know from the research, and you have been probably already discussing about this quite a lot in this lecture, that in this course, that diversity, it has impact on quite many things: innovation, productivity, like overall like better products. And it's not only about the gender, but it's overall about getting different kind of people to work together. But that's not like all. So if you hire diverse people, you have to also know how to manage and organize that kind of organization, which is really diverse. It's not like that you have all the similar kind of people there and magic will like happen. No. Or that you will have really diverse people there and magic will happen right like that. It doesn't work like that. So you have to know also how to lead and how to manage diverse organization. And also you have to focus on like what is the real diversity. So for example, we get a lot of women to apply programs. We notice that in programs they don't all stay in software engineering programs. And the same is with the companies. They get women to apply and start in the software engineering positions, but there has been for decades already a huge problem that women are not staying in the industry. So we are losing women. And that has been like the main thing which research has been focusing in recent years, that what are the real challenges? And they are a little bit depressing. There is still like this kind of like harassment, underestimation, career process challenges that women don't get promoted. But then, for example, in software development, there has been like these kind of issues that women that don't get treated samely as men in software development teams, and that's like really an issue. And then there is of course like these kind of challenges that it hurts quite a lot of people, and not only women. For example, maybe men in the teams feel that, for example, they can't be themselves in teams, or they cannot be too soft or stuff like that. So that if you treat everyone equally in a team, that makes the whole team work better and everyone can be what they really are. And there is no like toxicity there. But also there is one tweet about Mari Railo. I really like her. She always like share this kind of like numbers from our industry. So I definitely would say recommend to follow her in LinkedIn. And for example, in this International Women's Day, she was sharing this like numbers about women in Finnish listed IT service companies and women in management groups. And these numbers looked really good. I was like, yes, that's a nice progress. But then Mari showed that, well, actually, there are quite a lot of these kind of like soft positions. Financial, communication, marketing, human resource. So we know that these are like kind of like areas where women are usually overrepresented compared to men. So we are still lacking women in tech positions. So we do have this problem that we have not solved the real diversity issue in software development, about that we would have more diverse people in tech positions. And that's the issue, because in software engineering, it's really important to make sure that we make right kind of products. We make fair products. We notice that if there's like some kind of challenges in the products, or we are making like we would need more different kind of opinions when creating products. And we know that diverse teams could solve these kind of challenges differently. So we are having a bias inside the bias. We are not yet there at even at closest. And unfortunately, the challenge right now with, for example, AI is that there is like underrepresentation of women in AI research, but also in AI roles, and especially in those technical AI roles. But that once again challenge us how we will like make better AI products, make more fair AI products. So in the end, when I'm looking this from the lens of software engineering and software development, this is still a huge issue. And I somehow feel that we have not been like progressing in this topic as good as like kind of like the main message would be. Because all the time we can hear that there are more and more women applying to these study positions. There are more and more women, for example, here in the management groups of these IT companies, but still we are lacking the software development tech roles. And I think that is the one reason why I say that it's still super important to talk about the gender, for example. And as said, diversity and inclusion is so much more than gender. But I think also that when we are doing research around gender, I think it's super important to consider that how the findings around gender could be generalized and applied to these other aspects of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or that we could learn from other aspects in gender-focused diversity, equity, and inclusion research. And overall, especially right now in this kind of like climate, the political climate around diversity, equity, and inclusion, those who can do still this research, I think it's super important to continue that research. But of course, I'm super worried that will this whole political climate in companies and in USA affect also on how we as an academic community review, for example, research made around these topics, and what are like kind of like this kind of publication possibilities around this topic. I'm so happy that I'm a Finnish researcher doing my research in Europe, but nothing is currently in this team right now. We know that equity and inclusion and the diversity topics, they always take some step forward, and then there is always a couple steps backwards. I think that's natural, but this climate change is really huge. So right now I'm super worried about what is happening right now. And these movements are targeting different kind of underrepresented groups in our industry overall. And I feel that conscious work is needed, but so is also collaboration. So in a way, I don't want to say that anyone is talking too much about any aspects of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think every research matters right now in this topic. And I think also that we should be talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion topics all the time. And especially in Finland, I think we could talk more about this in our whole like educational levels, from kindergarten to schools, high schools, and then universities, and then companies. Because previously I noticed that, for example, in these gender topics, we had like quite a lot of like actions focused on high school girls to get girls to apply university level studies. But then we had nothing in university talk about why diversity, equity, and inclusion in software engineering matters. And then they went to these companies, and then there was once again these kind of like diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings. So we were kind of like lacking. And I made also research about this topic. And overall, like people were saying that, well, I can apply some themes here, but then in the end, there were also like some people who were saying that, oh, software engineering is so technical. We don't have to like focus on these kind of things at all. And I think this age of AI, I think it's hugely important that we are aware of like for example, biased data and unconscious biases and this kind of like ethical software development and also because the challenge that women are still leaving from the industry, we should be more aware of like this unprofessional behavior and how diverse teams works, what kind of teams challenges there are. Because software development is made in teams. And if we will have more and more diverse teams in Finland, for example, we have to know how to lead and manage them. And I think that's like hugely important. And we would need more researchers for that. That means that we would need more research already in this area also. And I think there are different kind of like pedagogical strategies which we as a university teachers can also apply in our teaching. So, I have my summary here once again. And I think I already said about these things, but more work, and more work, and more awareness, and more also visible actions to speak about diversity, equity, and inclusions, and also speak about like why some diversity, equity, and inclusion things are not working, and what we can make better in them. So diversity and equity and inclusion backlash is not a new thing because these kind of like trainings and education has been there for decades already. But there has been like all the time some kind of like research around that what is working and what is not and why it's not working. And I think there's quite a lot we can learn about that overall. But I think this was super fast lecture. I noticed that I was talking quite fast, but now it would be fun to a little bit hear about your point of view or questions or things what you have been thinking about this topic. So please, if there's any questions.
I will stop the recording now so you can ask freely. Either ask here in class or open up your mic online or write into the chat.